Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Final Third TV. This week we'll be discussing club stature and how difficult it is for some clubs to attract the top names. Joining this, Conor's room, I suppose, by Conor Kelly. How are you doing?
Hello, Rob Hammer. This is sort of weird.
Yeah, it is a bit strange, but we got kicked out of the studio, so...
I wore a jumper because I thought you'd wear a jumper.
No, well, I mean, they were the same colour, so we would have been clashing. But anyway, Liverpool, recently enough, they missed out on Memphis Depay, and they lost their star player, Luis Suarez, over the summer last season. Does that show where they are as a club in terms of their stature, or is this a Brendan Rodgers issue?
It's definitely not a Brendan Rodgers issue for me. A lot of Liverpool fans voiced their concern at the fact that they'd missed out on these players, and that a lot of them blamed on Rodgers and his ability to attract top level players. I think it's more indicative of where Liverpool are as a club. Similar to the likes of Tottenham, they're a tier just below that elite level of clubs who can attract the best players in the world. Your Barcelona's, Real Madrid's, Bayern Munich's, Chelsea, Manchester United, clubs like that. And Liverpool's season last year, where they finished second in the league, sprung hopes of a further challenge this year. But in retrospect, they're really just regressing to the mean this year. They're back to finishing fifth or sixth in the league where they were before Rodgers took over. So I think it'd be a bit harsh to blame Rodgers for anything. I just think that's where Liverpool are as a club. That it's not a money issue, I don't think, really. It's more that players don't want to play for a club who aren't in the Champions League consistently and regularly.
Could it also be a case of like the recruitment policy there at Liverpool? Could it be like the way they look at the Moneyball philosophy? They buy young players, try to develop them and sell them on later on. Is that sort of a philosophy that's feasible to get into the elite, or is that sort of a stepping stone to balance the books?
Yeah, the only parallel for me in football in recent years has been the Borussia Dortmund model, where a lot of the players they brought through were academy players, but they also signed and recruited well from some of the lower tiers of German football, and they had great success. I think Liverpool are trying to do something similar, but also based on the Moneyball system, and it remains to be seen whether that can work in football, because at the end of the day, footballers will see Liverpool as a place that they can grow and develop, but do they necessarily think it's a place they can win multiple honours and all of the major trophies that they're after? Most players, at the end of the day, when it boils down to it, they'll be getting paid big money wherever they go. So it's about ambition and success for most of the top level players. So I think the Moneyball, in theory, the Moneyball idea is great, but you do have to supplant that with a couple of big signings here and there, I think. Like, for instance, if Liverpool want to make the next step to being a consistent Champions League team again, to competing for titles, I do think they have to invest a little bit more. And whether or not they can attract the top level players that they need to do that, it remains to be seen, because there's so many options for players nowadays where they could go to Bayern Munich, Real Madrid, Manchester United, as has been proven with Depay.
So what can Liverpool and clubs around them do, like Tottenham, for example, do to break that sort of the sort of bracket that they're in, just below the top level, but can't quite reach it with the philosophies they currently have? Is it a total shake-up of the transfer policy, or is it just, as you said, just to bring in a couple?
I think you've got to build it on. I think what Rodgers has tried to do at the end of the season is he's tried to blood some youngsters into the team. I think you need a core of players who've come through the academy and know the club and love the club and want to stay there for a while. Because, for instance, if you're signing players from abroad, a lot of them will have, like Suarez, had a long-term vision that he'd be playing somewhere else. Liverpool wasn't the zenith for him. And I think you need to have the right balance of players like that. You also need a management structure and a transfer strategy in place that can consistently deliver over a long period of time. Now, I think Brendan Rodgers has done a brilliant job, and what he did bringing them to second place in the league last year can't be underestimated. But he needs to either be backed and given everything he needs next season. Like, for instance, he's not going to get 60 million to spend on a player, but he might get 50, 60 million to buy 3 or 4 players. They need to back Rodgers in that scenario. But again, it's still, they have to consistently deliver results first. It's a tricky situation because they have to deliver results first to attract these kind of players. And
It's like a
do
sort of
think-
paradox. They have to get the
Yeah.
results to get the players, but they can't get the results if they don't get the players.
Yeah, that's it. Like it's a hard one. It's a hard situation to be in, and again, I think they are in that tier of clubs with Dortmund, possibly Atletico as well, where they could potentially have 2 or 3 years of success. But unless they move into a new stadium and get basically have a bigger turnover and are starting to win things consistently again, they won't be able to attract those big players.
And then just to finish up, I mean, look, you've obviously got a really young squad, and as you said, Rodgers blooded some youngsters. But is there a risk then that if Liverpool don't change their attitude to the transfer market, that they'll lose the likes of Coutinho, the likes of Sterling to other bigger clubs?
Yeah.
And then they won't be able to progress. They'll just stay where they are, and that'll be that.
That is the issue, because like Sterling grew up and he's never seen Liverpool as a successful club. When he was growing up, it was Manchester United who were in Everton and Chelsea and Arsenal. And it's not, for instance, it's not like Steven Gerrard or players like that. Even like Jamie Redknapp, who wasn't a Liverpool fan as a kid, but when he was signed, Liverpool were the biggest club in the country. It's no longer the case, so it's harder to convince a player like Raheem Sterling that Liverpool is the be-all and end-all, particularly when there's clubs all around Europe who are potentially interested in him. And with Coutinho, it's the same. He saw his South American compatriot, Luis Suarez, deliver for Liverpool for 3 or 4 seasons and got a major move to one of the elite 3 or 4 clubs in Barcelona. And if clubs like City or PSG get to that level as well, and they are in a better position because of the financial backing they have and the players they already have in place and the success they've had in recent years, that's another couple of clubs who are moving ahead of Liverpool in that bracket. So it's a tricky situation to be in.
Cheers, Conor. There you have it. There's Conor's take on the situation at Liverpool and where they can progress to as a club. Comment in the section below, give us a like, it helps out a great deal, and subscribe to Final Third TV, where you can get more videos like this on a weekly basis. That's all for now. Thanks for watching.